Have you ever been drawing and when you're all done, you sit back to enjoy the fruits of all your hard work and you realize that this one specific object just looks off? It doesn't look the way you were hoping it would. And when you set out, you thought you knew how to draw that thing, but for some reason, try as you might, it just keeps on coming out all wonky looking. Well, that's exactly what happened to me earlier this week. And in this video, I'm going to walk through how I tried to solve drawing something that was really difficult for me. Welcome back to Middle-Aged Man Learns to Draw His Dog, where I am drawing my dog every day this year in an effort to begin to learn the skills of a professional illustrator in hopes of one day hopefully becoming a professional illustrator. And I'm doing this all while I have a 9-to-5 job and a busy family life. This week I have been working on my drawings for Inktober 2024. If you're not familiar with Inktober, it's an art challenge that apparently is like wildly popular, I think, internationally, but it's my first time participating in it in any way at all, and I really just kind of really learned what it was just this year, and so I was really excited to take part in it. There's a prompt every day, and you just create one ink picture every day based on the prompts, and I've taken the approach of taking 3 prompts at a time and making a story picture out of those 3 prompts, and I've been super excited about it. I did research and tried to learn different inking techniques ahead of time, and for this one prompt, which is going to show up here in just a second, I thought I was good to go. I actually did a bunch of sketches ahead of time and felt really comfortable with binoculars. And when I actually went to draw them in what was going to be my final drawing, I could not get all the lines to line up in a way that didn't make my binoculars look all wonky, at least in my opinion. And I think that in a drawing like this and for a challenge like this, it is okay for your drawings by a long shot to not be perfect. But I've been trying in this challenge specifically to really challenge myself to do up my effort at doing high quality work, and I really wanted these to not look wonky. and in the end, I thought that these binoculars looked kind of like 2 trumpets that are a little bent, that are latched together with handcuffs, and I thought that is not the look I'm going for, so I decided to deep dive how to fix these. I would be very interested to know what objects you all have difficulty drawing and how you've approached it. What strategies have you used? What has been helpful? I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to learn from you. But here is how I approached it. And the first thing that I did was just to try and draw binoculars over and over again. And I think there's potential for that helping, but I could not figure out what it was that was causing my binoculars to come out the way I wanted them to. So I had to kind of pause and think through some steps to go through to really dig into what I was doing wrong. And what I came up with was really focusing on 3 things. 1 was using reference. 2 is breaking down the object into its most basic shapes, starting at the highest level, and I'll explain what I mean by that. And then just making sure that you block in your perspective guidelines really clearly and really use them throughout your drawing, through the drawing process, and I'll explain all that. Number 1, use reference. I think this is pretty straightforward, but I will just say that I had been looking at pictures of binoculars, and until I actually got out a pair of binoculars that we had and I looked at them at the angle that I was going for, there were just some things that I didn't see before about what binoculars look like, and why they kind of rest the way they do when you set them on the ground or set them on a table or something. So, if you can find something, if you're really struggling with something, then I think if you can find that thing in real life and look at it at the angle that you're trying to draw it, that's the most helpful thing. But definitely using a picture at the angle that you're trying to draw is really critical, specifically for things that you're having a hard time drawing, because the fundamental problem is that that specific object, your mind has not conceptualized, has not grasped how that object is in space, and or just your hands don't have practice making those shapes or something. But I think that we really need to absorb how that object takes up space. And it was really helpful when I could lay out the binoculars in front of me, because I realized I had been thinking about the binoculars like they were essentially a cone shape, and like when you lay a cone flat on the ground, the whole one side is touching the ground, and it's that whole same side all in a like straight flat line. But binoculars are different because they just have different levels to them. Like the eyepiece on binoculars is basically always a smaller cylinder than the front lens of the thing, and usually the difference is really dramatic. So it's not like laying a cone flat on its side. It's more unusual than that. So it really helped me to see that. Please remember, if you are enjoying this content or find it helpful, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow, and I love knowing that this is the stuff, what stuff people enjoy and what stuff people don't enjoy as much. So it's helpful for me. Thanks. Okay, so number 2, identify the basic shapes from the highest level on down, and start with the simplest version if you can. So what I mean by that is, taking the example of binoculars, if you dig in, if you just look at binoculars in general, they're like a series of cylinders or cones or something like that. But I found that I really needed to kind of back out even more and just recognize that at first I started thinking, I think they're actually more like just a rectangle block. And so I started dealing with a rectangle block, and then it dawned on me that they're actually much more like a four-sided pyramid, like a rectangular pyramid, than they are just like a rectangular block, because they slope on the sides and they slope on the top and bottom. And so that was really helpful to me for just kind of understanding why the angles were the way they were. And so once I realized, okay, this is actually just a four-sided rectangular pyramid, or just a rectangular pyramid, that was really, really helpful to me. And then from there, I could kind of insert these other cylinders and start working with them in what I think is like better angles, because I had started out identifying that this is really just a rectangular pyramid at first that just kind of gets cut off midway, which is where the lenses go. So that was really helpful. Okay, so last one. Number 3, establish perspective guidelines. I don't know if that's like a technical way to say what I'm trying to say, but I found that it made a huge impact on my drawing once I realized that I was not following the correct vertical and horizontal lines throughout the process. And what I mean by that is, when you start creating a rectangle in space. It has a vertical line, along the edges, and then the pieces that are touching the ground, and then the piece that is like skyward. Those are horizontal lines. And I realized that as I was trying to make cone shapes inside my rectangular block, and like ellipses as part of that, I realized that I was actually ignoring the vertical and horizontal guidelines for of the original rectangle that I made, or what ended up becoming the rectangular pyramid that I had made. And if you establish perspective that says like the vertical lines need to go this way because the rectangular box or pyramid is angled in this direction, then anything that doesn't follow those vertical lines looks wrong. And so in my original binoculars, the ellipse that I was making for the eyepiece, I think in particular, was angled in such a way that it was like I was aligning it with the edge of my page, like the vertical edge of my page. I was not aligning it with the vertical edge of the box that I was fitting my binoculars in, and that makes it look terrible. So that helped me a lot, just to remember that, as once you can put the object inside a box and you follow the dimensions of that box or rectangle or rectangular pyramid, whatever it is, and follow those guidelines. Those guidelines really are like your saving grace. Like, that's why you know how to make it look right, is because you have those guidelines to show you, if a line is going vertically, you make it go in these directions, and if it's going horizontally, it has to go in these directions, and as long as it does that, it looks right. And anyway, so establishing good perspective guidelines and following them, really, really critical if you're trying to accurately draw something. Okay, so we're really done in my drawing. I'm really done with the binoculars at this point, and I'm just doing some rendering and some shading, and I feel like rendering can fix a multitude of mistakes. So if you mess something up, it's always good to just see if you can fix it in other ways also, with shading or other things. But in the end, I don't think that these binoculars looked way better than the other binoculars. I do think they look better. I think I got the lines, those like perspective guidelines, more accurate, and I definitely wrapped my head more around what binoculars, like how they take up three-dimensional space, and I feel like I was able to represent that a lot better. I'll also add that for the amount of time that I have available to draw, and how much energy I've already put into Inktober, I probably shouldn't have spent this much time on trying to fix these binoculars. But lesson learned, I'll probably make the future drawings a lot more abbreviated and just leave in a lot more mistakes. But anyway, a lot of good learning, a lot of good experience. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and as I wrap up here, hope you enjoy. If you're interested in other drawings I've done, there will be some links to other videos that pop up on the screen, and feel free to click on those to see other things I've learned along the way as I've drawn my dog every day this year, and also just my progress throughout the year. Because I've been learning things. I think I've been improving as I've been going. And so it's kind of neat to look back and just see where I started compared to where I am now. All right, enjoy the rest of the video. Thanks for watching.